The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
It's back to Kent, it's back to Blighty, it's Brands Hatch, and it is the World Cup of iRacing. And not only that, but quarter-final time is continuing, the last one of the day, as we get things going. DEATCH are going up against the USA, and not just the USA, but it is classified as the USA Stars. The battle UK and I in the semi-finals. But it's coming to you in just 1 moment's time. It's qualifying time, ladies and gentlemen. 10 minutes, 4 laps to get it in, as it's Harold Stadler who currently has himself right up on top as things stand. 114.417 in these monstrous Lotus 79. And it's been a little while since I've last seen this race, but Sam Doby puts himself on top. 114 flat as things stand here on the iRacing eSports Network. We welcome to you as we get things underway. Looking at his practice times, it seems that he had a bit of a bag of sand in the car as things were going, but it's Shakespeare along with Lorenzo Bonda here on this presentation brought to you by RaceSpot TV. Lorenzo, Sam Doby was deciding to keep it a little bit under wraps then when it came to his qualifying effort, but there's Stadler, there's Heron, and there's also the likes of Florian Eilefeld, who will look to try and get themselves into play when it comes to qualifying. Top 4 split by less than 0.3 of a second.
Hello Jacob, hello everybody, and welcome back. And as you said, basically assembled a Mercedes on Barcelona during the F1 testing, basically sent back in everything. I could actually mention other like manufacturers and races, but I'm not going to go into that. The important thing is Sam Doby right now with the top time. Difference is really low, as you said, 0.4 seconds between first and fourth place. But right now, as we start practice, the dominance from DEATCH was pretty much seen during our practice. So I just want to see if that translates into race. Remember, you need to do a mandatory pit stop. Just put the car in and make sure the pit stop counts, and you can get out.
And Sam Doby's got even quicker, 1:13.869, only man to break the barrier, but the big issue is he's not got much help from second all the way down to 7th. It is Club DEATCH, then Robert Simpkins in 8th position. Let's see Robert Simpkins having a good run, a fixture of the CTC, the Classic Teams Championship, Lotus 79 League that is often run with our good friends at the Global Sim Racing channel. 3-minute warning then in terms of qualifying. Jacob Klein will look to try and get himself over the line. 1:81, his best time so far. He does not improve on his final lap in qualifying. Joachim Bodecker looking to try and make his way to the line in the number 19, 1:15.370. He does go faster, but does not gain position of 1:15.254 in the end. And it is slightly faster for Sam Doby as well, 1:13.851. An improvement over that qualifying lap time of 18 thousandths of a second here. But Lorenzo, it's okay having your car up at the front, but if you don't have a team to back you up, you are only as good as your weakest link. And it is pretty clear that there is a weak link here into this USA Stripes team, or this USA Stars team, I should say, because they, at the beginning of this session, tried to have 10 drivers field this event when they're only allowed 8.
Yeah, and the admins actually saw that and removed the lowest I-rated member off the team. And unfortunately, they're going to go back to 8th. And as you said, the weak link for the American team is there, as you said, no one to back Sam Doby into this first few laps into this race. Because if you see, from 2nd to maybe, I'm going to say 7th place is only German or DEATCH members. So the other American is actually Robert Simpkins in 8th place. So he's going to be all by himself, as I think we are already out with our qualifier. I don't know if there's anybody on the track. I see.
We were going to have Chris Pence. Well, we were going to have Chris Pence to set a lap time, but he will abandon it. Mike Rogan is out of laps and just getting last bit of practice in, so we can take ourselves then over to the starting grid. This is how things will stand for race number 1. But we will just wait on that for a moment. Just got a little bit of a moment, shall we say, for us. We do have to wait a little bit longer. My impatience. But Lorenzo, it's a very, very tough track here for these Lotus 49s. A lot of undulation here at Brands Hatch. You could say it's a classic car with a classic track layout and all the inner workings in this 12-lap race of being one where I think patience, it may be a key factor, but I think drivers will be looking to force moves around this track, especially knowing how important it is to stay really, really close.
Absolutely, because you have only 12 laps. Or, of course, if you had more laps, then patience would be a key for you to make the right move in the right places, because Brands Hatch has a lot of overtaking spots, from Paddock to Druids, then from Surtees to Hawthorns, Sheen maybe, and then from Sterling's into Griffin's Bend, all the way to the last corner, and then head to the main straight. So you have a lot of spots into overtaking, but as you said, the car offsets really easily with the undulation and everything, and we are out of qualify into the starting grid. Go back to you, Jake.
Doby will be up on pole position on a 1:13.851 with Harold Stadler alongside him on the front row. Dan Heron and Florian Eelfeld will start 3rd and 4th. Soren Kaloje will start in 5th with Mike Rogan 6th. Joachim Bodecker in 7th position with Robert Simpkins, the 2nd of the USA team, in 8th. 9th is Kevin Kolscher. 10th for Gerard Gilbert. And you've got likes of Wallart, Klein, Brennan, Phillips, Federman and Pence, who will be looking to take to the start. So it's a little bit of a wait before we get ourselves underway. 2 minutes to grid up, or the dreaded place known as Pit Road, which is a very, very dangerous place to be starting from indeed. Man against the machine then for Sam Doby, who has the inside line when it comes to turn number 1. But of course, he has to make sure that this is a team effort. There is no point winning this event having all your teammates stuck at the back. I think it's the team effort that will be looked at here by Club DEATCH, as they will look to try and score as many points as possible just to cement their dominance against this team. The Oval team's a little bit different. Engine notes rise. And let's get underway. 12 laps here at the circuit of Brands Hatch starts to go as Dan Heron looks at Sadler, potentially down the inside. No, they're going to behave here, the DEATCH drivers, as Doby gets a fantastic hole shot down through Paddock Hill Bend, and there's no dramas then on the opening lap then of this, or the opening corner, sorry, of this event, into Druids and out, and then into the Graham Hill Bend. Doby with the advantage, no real battling until you look a little bit further down. One car going off, that's Gerard Gilbert, and that just epitomizes a very poor start by his standards there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, another car off. I think let me see who just over there. I think that might be one of the, it is one of the American cars. I'll get that one later. Ooh. But absolutely.
And we've got a car off as well. That's Joachim Bodeker. That's the DEATCH driver. And there was a bit of help then. He was slow through the exit. And it was his own teammate, Soren Koloje, who runs into him. And that is a big moment. And he does have that suspension damage as well. No fast repairs in this series. So if Joachim Bodeker can't continue with that car, that's it. And we got drama in the back as well, as Tim Phillips goes for a spin with his own teammates. A lack of communication at the moment from both sides at this one. It seems that it's more friendly fire than it is direct competition.
Yeah, they need to understand this is a club competition, so points matter. And you need to be in the top 10 for you to make points. I'm just gonna recap. I did recap on did say on the last race, on our last broadcast, but I'm gonna go over here. First place gets 25, second gets 21, third gets 18, fourth 15, fifth gets 12, sixth gets 10, seventh gets 8, then 6, 4, and 2 for your top 10. So it's similar to F1, and you just have one more points over here and there, but you need to make sure you're actually in the point range, and so far some of the drivers not helping themselves to get into that range.
No, they're certainly not, as things stand. Gap front, 7/10 of a second for Sam Doby over Harold Stadler. Dan Heron just waiting in the wings in fourth. Top 5 have got themselves line astern. Then there's a small gap back to Robert Simpkins in 6th position, being chased down by Kevin Kolscher in the battle for 6th, the number 4 of Club DEATCH, then looking to try and take this 6th place away. Both drivers up 2 positions then off of the start. And Kevin Kolscher just playing the patience game through Sterling's Bend, and now in through towards the final corner of the Jim Clark curve. They come along clearways sometimes, as it is known. And for the moment, at least here, Lorenzo, it seems that Kolscher not in a position to attack. Dirty air is a big factor in these vehicles, but he is poised for a mistake out of Simpkins.
Absolutely, and you see Simpkins' car now having a little bit of a wiggle into Paddock, so he's going to come with a better gap into Druids. And just for moving, not here, not now, but I think after Surtees all the way into Hawthorns, if he can get within range, he's going to be able to move. He's going to be able to make a move, and I think he's going to do it. Not now, but he's going to set it up, go up the hill, pick up some speed, and now work the draft into Hawthorns.
Yes, but he's not got much help when it comes to that draft. Of course, there's not really too much straight here at Brands Hatch. If you're struggling to get the power down, this is really more rather an acceleration track. But look at the difference in speed heading through the corners into Westfield Bend. Looking down to the inside goes Kolscher. He can't find it through Dingle Dell and up to the Sheen curve. This blind right-hander, which really does test the faith in where you place the car. Still nothing as things continue, but Doby is pulling out that gap, and a rather large one as well. 1.3 seconds in 2 laps. Within 3 laps, that gap has extended out to 1.8 seconds, 0.6 of a second a lap. Both decide to come down the lane between Kolscher and Robert Simpkins, and that was a case of run it together, see what the strategy sticks. You can't pit on the final lap, so they decide to come down together, and I think that was a wrong call by Kevin Kolscher there, Lorenzo.
Because I think Kevin could actually open up that gap to Simpkins. He knows he's a little bit faster, so why go behind Simpkins just because you already made your pit stop? Now you're coming into traffic. You gotta work all the way again. Oh!
That was a bit of a commitment there from Joachim Bodeker, who, of course, was involved in that early incident, came down, took a stop, just got a little bit caught out by his own teammate, turned, saw that the vehicle on the inside was not going anywhere, decided to back out of it. And, of course, when you're turning left into a right-hand corner, especially one like Paddock Hill Bend, Lorenzo, it is so difficult to stop the car, and he is very lucky that has not snapped on him.
Yeah, because as you said, Paddock Hill is a very dangerous. I think he's one of the most dangerous corners into this track. I see that this corner and maybe Sheen are the most dangerous ones because Sheen is the blind apex and you need to hit it properly and go all the way out and forget the grass, don't hit it. Paddock Hill is an uphill then downhill curve, and upsetting the car here is really easy. You need to be very mindful on the gas. If you put too much gas, depending where you are, you're going to go off track most definitely, and nearly that happened for Joachim.
Yes, it very nearly did, but now behind the Kolscher Simpkins train, you've got those who've yet to pit. You've got Gilbert, you've got Brennan, you've got Klein, and then you've got Bodeker, a couple who have, and I believe one of them is not Gerard Gilbert. He comes down onto the lane along with Peter Brennan, so the USA Stars seemingly not shining big and bright at the moment in terms of this, unless you are Sam Doby at the front of the field. And it's been a mistake at turn number 1 as Simpkins is under a lot of pressure to make things happen. The 19 machine we were looking at, that was Bodeker once more, who ran himself into issues. He is now out of the event. We'll very briefly stay with Kevin Kolscher. He's down the inside and he picks up the position. Let's get a replay then of what happened to Joachim Bodeker. It's been a nightmare. They're both in the wall, both Simpkins and Kolscher.
Wow, great impact between both drivers. After Kolscher made the move, he tried to stay within his lane, but Simpkins, I think, tried to get the draft wheel on Kolscher and stay side to side, and actually got the rear right wheel of Kolscher and basically T-bowed him into the wall, prompting both of them to have a big crash. And actually, they're probably out of this race. They're both out of this race.
They are both out of these race. These Lotus 79s are incredibly fragile, and that was not ideal at all in terms of his standards. Let's get a look at what happened to Joachim Bodeker just before that. That was at turn number 1, and I believe that was just a case of parking the car, potentially heading into turn number 1. He ran into the wall, so just running himself there, just a mistake on the brakes. He's braking and turning. He's trying to trail brake at the same time there, actually, there, Lorenzo. And I think that he's just overdone that. The car has just veered into that Armco barrier, and that's why he's out of this event.
Absolutely. You have to be mindful of the suspension damage that he had. So he was trying to compensate the entry with his damage so he doesn't go to the left more than he usually does. So unfortunately, the car just did so bad into entry, and he got more than he asked for and into the Armco barrier. Race over.
Race over indeed. A very, very difficult car, Lorenzo, to drive. And what are some of the big challenges about driving a classic brute like this Lotus 79?
I think it is really simple. No ABS and no traction control. And the fact that this engine is naturally aspirated in his pure brute power, you need to be very mindful of the gas and placement of the car. You need to know where to put the gas again on the foot on the gas again and accelerate. So the minimum acceleration that you do on corners might upset the car a little bit, and you need to have the arm to actually hold that car into place. And some of the drivers are struggling with it.
Some of the drivers certainly are struggling with that aspect. Mike Rogan has come out of pit road just ahead of Chris Pence. Pence being chased down by Dirk Federman in the number 16. Federman has already come down and made a pit stop as things stand. He did that on lap number 1. He looks to the outside, heading towards Hawthorne's Bend. And there's a little double wiggle from Pence, who has been pretty strong in the major series and has had some pretty good results in the Atlantic splits. But looking at Federman, he's just not able to pick anything up just yet as they head through that very, very tricky right-hander. They are over half distance at the moment here, Lorenzo. So for Federman, it's just a case of just trying to either A, wait for time, or B, decide to go for a move. But there's no reason to risk.
I think there's no reason to risk. He's doing pretty much well. But if you want to grab more points, I said, grabbing 6th place right now gives you 2 more points in standings for the team. So right now the situation is it's very balanced between teams in terms of points. You have all teams. There isn't a domination per se into the standings because you have the first place for the US and then you have drivers all around the top 10 is grabbing points. So basically it's a tight scenario and the drivers need to be very mindful of that. If you want to make the move and risk it, go ahead, but I think it's much riskier doing that maneuver and putting yourself out of the race, and you're going to lose a lot of points and then have to recover that in the second race.
Oh, very, very true, Mr. Vonda, but Veterman still in that patient place, trying to wait and bait out a move to get that opportunity to Westfield Bend, the right-hander. Nothing forthcoming, a little bit wide, but you can run on that AstroTurf if you are Chris Pence. That's one of the natures of this track, a lot of AstroTurf that you can really have a good push and a good attack on, but you can't go too far because of course this grass really does hurt when you spin up the tires on it. It's certainly not one of those Herman Tilke design tracks, which makes life incredibly difficult to see overtaking. In comes Dan Heron though from second position. He's already come out and away again. In fact, no, he's actually just lost time over the course of that lap. It was a 1:15.7. Just want to keep an eye out to see if he's had any sort of issues on this lap, and it doesn't seem like anything was forthcoming. So really has just lost time here in this stage, I do believe here, Lorenzo.
Now let me look at the laps right now. So far, Dan Heron, and then right now he's putting 1:15s across the board, except for the first lap. Sam is just doing 1:14s all around, so nearly a second faster per lap, so it's natural pace.
It's natural pace, and Sam Doby's proving why he has that natural pace over Dan Heron. It was a 1:15.7 from Dan Heron. It was a 1:15 flat from Sam Doby, so Doby really having a little issue. One of the things that does make this car a little bit more unique is the fact that it does get lighter with fuel, and it does play a big factor as only 9 drivers currently circulating on the leading lap as things stand. So something else to keep an eye out on, but it does deplete its fuel tank very, very early as Dirk Fetterman again very close to the rear of Chris Pence, unable to make it into Paddock Hill Bend. Lorenzo, do you feel like fuel loads is something just to keep a miniature eye on? They don't have to put any fuel in the car, but do you feel like drivers are less inclined to put the full tank in and are certainly a lot more inclined to put in pretty much fumes in that car?
I think so. I definitely think so, because basically you gain time on it, you have to be too concerned about it. More fuel, that means more weight on the car, and that means more slower laps. So why take that chance? There is no strategy over here. The strategy is basically go flat out as Chris Pence goes off track after Hawthorne's coming back on the track safely, but a little mistake actually closed down that gap to 2/10 of a second.
He's a lucky, lucky man, but he's starting to miss apexes, and there goes Chris Pence. Has a slide, is able to recover it and correct it, but is very, very lucky not to hit any form of Armco barrier. Pence will lose the position, but crucially keeps his pride for another day, which now means that for Club DEATCH, it is 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6 in this event, and that is crucial for what they are wanting, with just a good 2 laps to go and under now, standing here at Brands Hatch. Sam Doby's been the star of this opening race, but it has been a clinic of team performance driving so far by that DEATCH club in this opening race here, Lorenzo.
Absolutely. Club DEATCH doing basically a team job, putting themselves into good positions, work themselves into pace and cleanness, and make sure you grab results. And the better results, the more points you get. You don't need to essentially lead and do first what UK and I did on race 2, which was 1st to 7 total domination. Just make sure you guys are within the right places and grab the right points and outpoint the other team, not score them. You don't need to fight for the win every single time. Of course, win is good, but points is better.
Points certainly are. Play the Alain Prost role as Dan Heron ultimately does decide to come down and make his stop. He'll come out behind Florian Ilfeld and Harold Stadler. So Sam Doby, final lap for him. He came down in, also made that stop. So it's a lot closer than it would be here to Harold Stadler, which is something just that maybe has been worrying. Stadler came down in on lap number 8, but for Sam Doby, 2.2 seconds the advantage. It has been looking like plain sailing since the start of this event, but the times have come in from drivers up and down the field to try and challenge, but nobody has seemingly got close. It's a spark, it's a small spark for the stars, and he will twinkle as that one shining light that could get something back in the reverse race in the second split. But for the final corner, it is going to be Sam Doby who will take the victory for the USA, but it will be DEATCH who are taking the points. Harold Stadler will come home in second. Florian Erlefeld will come in third. Dan Heron will take fourth. And it is a long wait back for Mike Rogan, who will finish this one in fifth, and Dirk Federman then in the sixth position. A lot of struggling for Chris Pence on the final laps as well, as things continue then just to finish this one. But I have to say, some very good running. Unofficial results then, we'll get them very quickly up on your screen right now. It is Sam Doby who takes a 2.1 second victory over Harold Stadler. Florian Alfeld 8.7 seconds back. Then you got Dan Heron and Mike Rogan. Dirk Federman followed by Jacob Klein, who is due to come across the line, as is Jason Willott, who's also got past Chris Pence. And then you look to those one lap down or further: Peter Brennan, Tim Phillips, Gerard Gilbert running into issues, and those who failed to finish, Simpkins and Kolscher running together. Boudica having a horrible day, along with Soren Kolodje as things stood. So 16 through then, Lorenzo. Race 2 coming up, an inverted grid. And very crucially for Club DEATCH, they are 1, 2, 3 to start this second race.
Yeah, and but we have seen what happens in Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch is famous and infamous at the same time for that speed coming into Paddock Hill and then position yourself for a move at Druids, and those let's just say dive bombing places you could go from not only Druids, but then you go on to Surtees. So drivers right now, the track is slightly colder. They need to be mindful of their first lap. That first lap is going to be key. In United States, the grid here, they need to move ASAP.
They do. We're just very quickly showing you the grid. So it will be Kolodje on pole position, Boudica second, Kolscher third, Robert Simpkins in fourth. Both Reeve and Kearns will not take the start. Gilbert will start fifth, Phillips sixth, Brennan seventh, Pence in eighth, and the rest will cycle through not long before they get themselves onto the starting grid. And you feel like DEATCH are in the driver's seat after opening race. They got the points that they want. Not many taking the start. It's a green flag. It's underway, and it's going to be pretty plain sailing, catching maybe a couple outs as this bottlenecks up at the rear of the field as they make their way through the right-hander of turn number 1, Paddock Hill Bend. There is no Mr. Robert Simpkins for this second race, so they will be down a man as well, which is not making life easier for the USA. Very unhappy maybe Mr. Simpkins is. Mike Rogan trying to find a way past Jason Willott in the background, too wide that they remain, but already a lot of drivers making moves. One certain Florian Alfeld is already got past Jacob Klein, looking at Tim Phillips, Pence and Gilbert together, but it is still 1 and 2 here, Lorenzo, for race 2, which is looking more and more like a sweep for DEATCH.
Yeah, and also one driver who's having a good start as well as Sam Doby, just behind himself, Florian Ilfeld, and actually he's going to try to make a move on Ilfeld. Team tactics right here into Sheeny makes the move on Ilfeld. Now need to stick it. No, actually Ilfeld having the upside. Oh!
That was Jacob Klein, and that is contact with his own teammate. They all bottlenecked up, mainly because Doby went off along with Tim Phillips. He was following Phillips's line, just lost it, did a certain Mr. Phillips, or sorry, I should say Klein, And that was pretty much that from there. So a big incident involving Sam Doby, but I don't think you can call that his fault. Alfeld, though, getting easily past Gerard Gilbert, who really left himself about a piece of paper between them, if that piece of paper was about a good 12, 15 feet wide. But for the moment anyway, it seems that it is just a little bit on edge here from a few drivers. They've had that race one, but crucially, they haven't had time to recover. So if they're angry or if they're frustrated, Lorenzo, they don't have time to mull on that. They're racing again with the red mist descended.
Yeah, and you need to be focused from first lap to last lap over here. And some drivers, if you're heated, don't even try to take that chance right now, because it isn't good for you. And Sam Doby actually getting caught up in traffic over here by its teammate. He's getting caught up by Gerard Gilbert. Now Gerard actually opens up to Sam Doby to overtake. But right now, look, things are looking good for the US side.
Things are looking okay, but not amazing in terms of they want points. Gilbert decides to come down to lane, has missed the cone by a fair margin as he decides to hit the brakes and try and make a push further on through this field. This race being led by Søren Kaloje, Kevin Kolscher in second position, Chris Pence now being thwarted at the moment for third position. This would give a 1-2-3 to Club DEATCH on the brakes, left-hander, turn number 4 at Surtees corner. Not quite going to find it, but pick up the run towards Hawthorns and get up and over the hill and just trying to get the run. Arfeld unable to make it happen, up and under. Potential look then over Pence, but Pence is showing again he's a very resolute defender of positions.
Absolutely, and actually allows Sam Doby to just sneak in a little bit. The gap is actually closed down from 2 seconds to 1.6 seconds, and now 1.5 seconds. It's closing ever more. So Chris keeps doing his job of holding back the Club DEATCH. Remember, that could come something really good for the US side. Sam Doby could move up a place, more points being caught, and opens up a little bit the perspective of this race.
It certainly could open up that perspective, but good run out to Paddock Hill, Ben down to the inside at Druid's corner, up the hill and then back down again, and he's got that position pretty comfortably for Pence. He'll probably let Doby go then for the next overtaking opportunity, and I wouldn't blame him in this situation. But for the moment, at least anyway, it is 1, 2, 3 for Club DEATCH. It is 4, 5. Then following for the USA Stars at the moment. And you have a look at this one. We're 1/3 of the way through the race already here, Lorenzo. And Florian Arfeld has got one thing on his mind, and that's win this event. Kolscher right now, I think, is going to understand, okay, you're quicker, I'll move out of the way.
Not only moved out of the way, you actually have a little spin. Let me see. I think the car is damaged. Might be damaged for.
I don't think he's hit anything.
Yeah, he lost it. He lost it on Sheen. I think he didn't hit anything. I think he didn't, but lost a little bit a second. Now he's gonna make the pits. Get the tires a little bit colder.
Well, he'll come down onto the lane. I don't blame him, just trying to stop the hypersensitivity of the tyres and looking to try and make that stop is the number 4, Kevin Kolscher. I don't blame him. Take a little bit of time out and take that early stop. Get back out and racing again and get a clear head underneath you. And that's probably what he's thinking. But that is a lot of points that could potentially be going down the drain and back to the USA Stars. But all of what's happened, though, that USA Stars team, it was only 30-odd points that they lost by. Despite that, and I think they understand, they are still in with a fighting chance if mistakes like that happen for the DEATCH team.
Yeah, and with a car like this, it's very common for you to make mistakes. Just one snap of a second and you're actually going into the wall like, and so that car, Sam Doby, you did it. But Sam nearly gone away into Sheen. He tried to go very wide, and then with a blind apex trying to hit as fast as he could, but got the grass. But you see the desperation getting to those drivers and need to make up time. So for the DEATCH club, it's just cruise control, make sure you grab those points. But for the US club, I think they need to push more, try to get more places, and make sure you trim down that difference you had in the first race.
Well, it seems there's not much they can do, and there's been, I think, maybe potentially an issue for Peter Brennan, because he has decidedly gone slow through the final section. That was just to get onto the lane. Bit pedestrian there from Brennan. He was on merit up in sixth position there, Lorenzo, but taking the easy route, deciding, I don't want to fight with anyone, I don't want any damage. Ultimately, for points, that's costly. You can't afford to really do that. Yes, finishing's important, but you need to finish with as many points as possible.
Absolutely. But one of the things we have to be mindful over here in Brands is that, Sam Dobie going at it again. Oh, keeps the car in control again, saves the car again. He's trying very hard, but back into the matter. One of the things here about Brands Hatch is that the pit entry is on the right side, and since naturally you're coming from the lat and attacking the right side of the apex in this track, some drivers actually get a very dangerous pit entry penalty from iRacing. There's nothing they can do, so they need to do a pit stop and go or a drive-through. So careful, okay, but not that careful.
They do need to be careful. They do understand that they need to be very, very cautious about how they attack over half distance then in this race. Still a few members of the race who are yet to come down and make their scheduled stop. Of course, they don't have to take fuel, they don't have to take tyres. All they need to do is get in their box and then just drive off again. As long as they've proved that they've stopped, they can get back going once more. It's Soren Koloje who has led this race from the drop of the green flag, but Florian Eilfeld, who had a 4-second gap a good 2 laps ago, that gap came down to 1.6. That gap now looks under a second, and it seems like it is only time that will stop Koloje from withdrawing from the race lead. I wouldn't be surprised to see Florian Eilfeld decide that he wants to be the pace setter in this race here, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and Florian right now is just on a better pace overall. You see 1:16s, 1:14s. Meanwhile, Soren is just on the 1:15s all around. Actually, I got the wrong time. I'm a genius. But 1:14s, 1:15s as Soren just lets Florian go like, nah, you're faster than me. I'm not gonna even take my chances and try to have a battle with you because I'm gonna do my job here and block Sam Dobie just coming up right behind them.
That's very, very true. Sam Dobie is a very dangerous character at the moment in this event, and has proven with a victory in the opening race that he has the potential and the pace to go out there and challenge whoever it is that he wants to. But look at behind, third and fourth, Dobie and Pence. You've got Rogan, Stadler, Herring, Kolscher, Federman and Boudica all together. That is a pack of 6 going back from 5th all the way down to 10th position. It proves that they do, Club DEATCH, have a lot of pace in depth, and that it is being shown here in terms of this event, as down onto the pits come 2 drivers. One is Eilfeld, one is Dobie, which means Koloje leads more laps than in this event.
Yeah, and Dobie actually came up a little bit more hotter than Florian, so managed to take away a little bit of time from Eilfeld. So that gap is going to be around a second once he come out of the pit. So a really good battle maybe for the race win. But for Sam's problem right now, he got traffic.
It's not just traffic, it is for position. Harold Stadler is right there and has done a very, very good job of getting himself ahead. He had a 1:38 opening lap time, which does indicate that Stadler came down in at the start of the event at the end of lap number 1. So Harold Stadler, right now at least, is there on merit as another vehicle in between himself and a certain Sam Dobie, and that's going to be crucial as Mike Rogan now getting caught and overtaken by quicker vehicles, and now this is going to be a little bit dangerous as they all bottleneck up through next right-hander. You can see Dobie taking 2-3 attempts, trying to find a way through. Mike Rogan relinquishes the position to Dobie and to Stadler, but all of a sudden, Sam Dobie does not look comfortable. He looks a little bit twitchy, a little bit on edge, a little bit nervous, I would say, at this stage in time, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's because you really don't want to lose time to other people, especially slower people than in front of you, as you saw Mike Rogan opening up a little bit, but unfortunately he got Mike in the worst spot possible between Dingle after get over here after Westfield going to Dingle, and that's a very tight spot for you to make a move, and fortunately lost 1/10 of a second, maybe 3/10 of a second in terms of gap to the guy in front of him. And Harold, which is right in front of him, is not gonna let him easy. He's gonna battle, and he's not gonna let it through just that easy. He's gonna fight for it.
He is going to fight for it. I've just noticed that Soren Koloje was caught speeding on pit road. He had a 15-second stop and hold that puts him behind Kolscher and Federman. So that's another position for Sam Dobie to pick up in the books. So Chris Pence is the only driver yet to come down and make a stop. He's got 3 laps to go before he needs to make his, which would be Eilfeld, Stadler, then Dobie, and Rogin, I believe, need to come down and make a stop as well here in this event. So for the time being, at least, it is looking pretty secure for that Club DEATCH team, as the leading drivers will decide to come round with 2 laps to go in this event. Into the pits then comes Mike Rogan for his mandatory pit stop. And I have to say, it's been a quiet race so far for these 2 races for Mike Rogan. He's done his job, and his job is not to be in the cameras so much. It's to just be a workhorse.
Yeah, your job right now is going to be support. If we have to pick, if we were to look into like other games, his role is support. He's not going to be the start of the team, but he's going to do the best he can within his capabilities to ensure that his team's got points and got the good spots. As right now, Chris Pence might have to go into the field. He's just past Hawthorne's, but if I am to look, he's probably going to go back into 5th place into this grid. So domination, just 2 American drivers in the top 10. Unfortunately, not a good look from the US team into the second place.
No, it hasn't looked brilliant. And of course, when you're talking about team players, you can say Mike Rogan is pretty much the equivalent to an ad carry in League of Legends. But for Chris Pence, he now has to have a mandatory pit stop. I think mandatorily, I don't think is even a word, which relinquishes the lead then on the final lap back to Florian Eilfeld, and it is on for second position. Dobie and Stadler very much nose to tail with each other down the hill, back up it. Dobie looking for the inside, decides to think better of it. Stadler always had it covered on that inside line, so Dobie now has to wait for a different place to try and make that move. He goes and runs a little bit wide through Graham Hill Bend. This is going to allow Stadler a little bit of a chance now to get a bit of daylight between himself and Sam Dobie, and it seems that he has at the moment. Pence has come out behind, well, just in front of Kevin Kolscher, and Kolscher will want that one. This is for the 6th and 7th positions then in this event. Not much going just for the moment. Stadler still stuck ahead of Sam Dobie, who is running out of places to go and make a move. If he can't get it here, he's got one last chance, and that's at the final corner on the brakes. Left-hander unable to make anything happen. For Florian Eilfeld, though, it is a numbers drive. It has been a fantastic drive from 16th, and he will come and give DEATCH a 2-0 blowout here at Brands Hatch. Florian Eilfeld takes the victory. Stadler second, Dobie in 3rd position. If we look back to the battle between Chris Pence and Kevin Kolscher, it is all Chris Pence at this stage, and Soren Koloje going to chase down to the line, and oh, there's the brakes from Kolscher, gives it back up to Koloje. At the end, it didn't change anything in the overall points, but Lorenzo, that's a pretty stern message there from Club DEATCH that comes to road. They're here to play.
Yeah, basically this is the message they're sending to the UK and Ireland team, which made 1st to 7 in race 2, and they're like, all right, you did first to the 7th right now, okay? All right, so we did first, second, fourth, fifth, sixth, or sorry, first, second, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. So we can battle, we can ball.
They certainly
Let ball, player.
They certainly can ball. Let's get classified results then up on your screen as Florian Alfeld takes the victory by 9/10 of a second over Harold Stadler, with Sam Doby just 2/10 back in third position. Dan Heron, a quiet race to fourth place with Dirk Federman in fifth, and Chris Pence finishing this one off in sixth. Soren Kaloje will finish in seventh with Kevin Colshare in eighth. Mike Grogan ninth, and Joachim Bodeker will round out the top 10. Gerard Gilbert on the second page in 11th with Peter Brennan in 12th. Tim Phillips and then Jason Wallott 13th and 14th. Jacob Klein, the last finisher, 1 lap down. It's also a big issue for Robert Simpkins, who did not take the start either. What we're going to do there, ladies and gents, we're going to step aside here for one moment on the iRacing eSports Network, the post-race show, coming to you after these few messages. Clinical, clinical, clinical. That's all you can say about DEATCH here on the road. They dominated 2-0 and progressed to the semi-finals to face Club UK and Ireland. It's the post-race show here with Jake Sperry and Lorenzo Bonda. Lorenzo, it was so simple for Club DEATCH from time to time in that race. They had some issues, though, with the likes of Dobie, with the likes of Chris Pence, but overall, I think that was a very, very solid performance from DEATCH, and one they can definitely build on.
Absolutely, and also sends a message to the UK and Ireland team, as I was mentioning before we went into the break, that we can ball. You guys have drivers, we have drivers as well. We got pace, we can battle with you. Let's make this thing fun. And Paul and the captain of the UK and Ireland team actually was saying in the interview on our last broadcast, on the last race road broadcast, that he believes that the UK and Ireland team can beat him. So surely the semi-final is going to be a very interesting match between both of them.
It certainly will do. We know that Club UK and Ireland are targeting a final and finally trying to bring the reign of Finland under control. But from here, though, you have to say, for the USA, it's always difficult for these USA teams to really come together as a collective. Do you feel like there is a little bit of an issue from that American-based side, mainly because road maybe isn't as strong of a discipline for them?
Maybe, because we know that the United States forte is ovals. No matter what, their best category is ovals, and we know also there are a few drivers that excel in GT classes, like we see, and also the open wheelers, like we see, which Mitchell De Jong and Robin Asterson, and so many other drivers we see in Neo, the World Cup, the GT, our World Cup in GT, the GP, and so many other categories. But in terms of collective, I think there is work that needs to be done, or bring more drivers, bring more competitive drivers, because this one was a blowout from the start.
It certainly was. Well, that's going to mark time then on the road action that we have for you this evening, but it's not over in terms of our coverage on the iRacing eSports Network and, of course, here on RaceSpot TV, because Finland are in the oval action. They will play the winner of either one of two teams. One team is the Brazil side, the other is the USA Stripes, and Finland, the #1 seeds in oval, are looking to try and get themselves a victory to move on to play either Canada or the Northwest. But thank yous are in offing. First to Adwern Designs, the official graphics partners here at RaceSpot TV, along with ATVO and Apgeneer, the official graphics engine. Live timing and scoring was brought to you by Nick Thyssen, along with animations by Simon Grossman. And of course, don't forget Istvan Ballo's Track Cams 22. Make sure that you check them out indeed. But from the time being here on the iRacing Esports Network, we're going to step aside for about an hour and 5 minutes or so. We will come back with the action from Michigan. That's Lorenzo Bonda. That's Randy Cheneth with the cameras. I'm Jake Sperry. Paint by numbers. Victory by numbers. DEATCH are sending warning messages to Club UK and Ireland. Good night.